Hey, what is up guys, and welcome to another One Punch Man video. So you guys have been asking for the longest time for me to make a LSSR timeline video, and I finally managed to have the time to put this video together. Hopefully this video will help you guys on deciding which LSSR unit to consider or pull for. However, before I get started, I'd like to state that this timeline is just my predictions, and the order and way units are released are subject to change based on Moonton's decisions. And of course, we already know that those decisions are questionable at best. And the last thing I'd like to mention is that everything I state in this video is merely my suggestions to help you guys and are not set in stone. At the end of the day, it is up to you to decide on what units you like and who you should consider pulling for. After all, this is a game, and the whole point of a game is to have fun. Okay, let's begin. So before I start talking about the upcoming units, I'd like to go over Zombie Man real quick. His rerun banner is returning in mid-February, and the current rerun banner is King. He is a must-pull unit, like I mentioned before in my Zombie Man review video. You cannot skip core units in this game, otherwise you will be gated in both PvP and PvE. And he's still a useful unit even without his core skill. His basic attack provides injury, his ultimate heals his entire team, and he can revive up to 4 to 6 times depending on how much you have limit broken your Zombie Man. And personally, I believe he is one of the most overloaded units in the game, my opinion, and truly a one-of-a-kind character. He is also needed for future PvP and PvE content that requires multiple lineups. Some examples include Resist Invasion, which is basically another version of Club Boss, except you need 3 lineups and 3 different cores. World Boss, which is an upcoming PvE bossing content. Club Wars, which is essentially Club Contest, except without the map and all the extra stuff you have to do looking for random things on the map. It's basically just the PvP version of Club Contest. And of course, there'll be other PvP modes that will need both 3 cores and 3 different lineups. And the last point is not as important as the previous ones I mentioned, however, it is still worth mentioning that he's going to be the best in slot duelist for the next 8 to 10 months. Basically until when Sonic version 2 comes out. Even though technically you don't need a duelist for the next core, which is Giro, you'll need 3 Espers and 1 Grappler, it's still nice to have at least 1 or 2 strong characters of each faction or class, whatever you want to call it. Okay, let's start things off with Silver Fang. Before I get started, I like to state that I formatted this PowerPoint in which I split it into 3 different categories, and these 3 categories are free-to-play / small spenders, Dolphins, which is essentially the mid spenders, and of course the whales, who are the heavy spenders. And based off each category, I will give you guys suggestions on whether or not to skip, pull, or whether or not the character is a good / great pull. First and foremost, I'm just wondering, like the rest of us, where is Silver Fang? He should have been released before Zombie Man, but Moonton still has not released him yet. So this leaves me to believe that he might either be introduced through the hero backup stick, or maybe through a small pack similar to G4. However, if he somehow isn't put on the hero backup stick or put into a pack, if his banner does come out, I would recommend free-to-play and small spenders to definitely skip, Dolphins to skip as well, and for the whales, probably skip, although if he is your favorite character or you need some sort of tenacity booster for your team, I guess you can pull him, although I wouldn't really recommend it because there will be upcoming units that do a better job than what Silver Fang already provides to the table. And the fact that we're already halfway through the Zombie Man meta just means that his value goes down even further. So even for the whales, probably not worth pulling on. Alright, next we talk about Flashy Flash. I believe he might be a potential hero backup stick unit or a small pack unit, mainly because he's not a very desirable unit for most players. Only the whales / very large spenders would be interested in Flashy Flash. And because of this, I recommend free-to-play and small spenders to skip, Dolphins or mid spenders to skip as well. And even for the whales, honestly, you should probably skip Flashy Flash unless you are a Flashy Flash fanboy. Reason is, he is only relevant during the Zombie Man meta, and he requires a lot, I mean turbo level investments. You literally have to dump all your resources into Flashy Flash in order for him to be top tier. So I guess if you want to be ranked 1 within your server, if you're one of those Giga Whales, be my guest, go ahead and pull Flashy Flash. Otherwise, everyone else, hard skip. Definitely hard skip. Okay, now we talk about Goketsu. He's comparable to Garou in the zombie meta in terms of power level, and he is even usable after the zombie man meta in both the Gero meta and the bomb meta. He is essentially the offensive version of Carnage, and he will dominate villain slash monster side PvP for a very long time. The only issue with Goketsu is, he comes right before a couple of really strong units that you might also want to consider. So free to play and small spenders, I would say skip him, honestly, and wait for the stronger upcoming units. For dolphins and mid spenders, he's a great pull, probably one of the best grapplers you can pull during this time, and he's definitely worth the investment. For whales, he is a must pull. Like I said before, his power level is equivalent to Garou during the zombie man meta, so without him, you'll definitely not reach the top rankings in both PvP and PvE. Okay, moving on. Next, we have Phoenix Man, aka KFC. I believe he's going to be a potential hero backup stick unit or a small pack unit as well, just because he is not as desirable as someone like Goketsu. He's basically the Esper version of Zombie Man with a revive mechanic. He's good for the Gero meta, and he counters a upcoming unit that's very strong, Red Mosquito Girl. However, for free to play slash small spenders, I'd say skip him. He's definitely not necessary, especially if you already have Zombie Man. Dolphins and mid spenders, maybe. If you're lacking a good Esper for the upcoming Gero meta, then I guess you can pull him. And if you want to be top tier in PvP, he can also definitely help in that regard. As for whales and large spenders, of course, he's a good pull. Definitely worth the investment. He's going to be very strong on monster and villain side. He and Goketsu will absolutely dominate that side of PvP for sure. And finally, we have gotten to Gero, the big ugly pink eye. Not much to say. For free to play and small spenders, he is a must pull. He is a core unit. You cannot skip core units in this game. Same with dolphins, must pull. Whales, well, you definitely have. End of story, just pull Gero. He is the next core. You cannot skip core units in this game. And for free to play players, if you don't have enough black tickets for Gero, do not gamble your black tickets. Save your black tickets and pull on his rerun. Just like I stated before for Zombie Man as well. Okay, next let's go over SSR Genos. He's essentially the king of PvP during the Gero era. However, for free to play, you should skip Genos because of the lack of resources you'll have to build him, and the specific gear needed to get him to his max potential, which is essentially HP and crit rate. I actually pulled for Genos on the Southeast Asia version of the game. I was a small spender, not a pure free to play. However, it got to the point where my Genos just fell somewhere in between being strong, but not strong enough to take on the dolphins and whales. I basically just lacked the resources and didn't have the specific gear I needed in order to get him to his top potential. And that's the main reason why I would not recommend for you guys, if you're free to play or small spenders, to even bother with Genos, as his main use is only PvP and he doesn't really serve a role for any of the other game modes. For dolphins and mid spenders, he's a good pull, especially if you're lucky or are able to get the specific gear and resources to build him. For whales and large spenders, he is definitely a must pull. Without Genos, you will not be able to play PvP during the Gero era, or it'll be very difficult. Alright, and next we will talk about Red Mosquito Girl, a fan favorite. And she is one of the first units that comes out that completely power creeps the other units or espers in the same category as her. And she's pretty much a must pull for everyone. However, I'm willing to say for free to play and small spenders, if you lack the black tickets, you can skip her and maybe wait for her rerun banner. Actually, I'm probably gonna have to do something like that since I got unlucky on the Garou banner as well. The reason is because in this version of the game, we have Boros, or most of us should have Boros. And although not really as strong as Red Mosquito Girl, or pretty much almost not even close, his damage is comparable at least to Red Mosquito Girl in terms of bossing. However, if you do have enough black tickets for both Gero and Red Mosquito Girl, I highly recommend you pull for Red Mosquito Girl if you're free to play or a small spender. And the thing is, even if you end up skipping Red Mosquito Girl on her initial banner, she is definitely worth pulling on her rerun banner as well. And she is one of the first units I would recommend you guys actually pulling on the rerun banner if you missed out on her original banner. The only other units I would ever recommend you pulling on the rerun banner would be core units. However, Red Mosquito Girl is obviously one of the exceptions. As for everyone else, the dolphins and whales, she's a must pull. She's essentially Boros plus a My Mask and Beast King on steroids. Okay, moving on. Okay, now we get into Watchdog Man, who is essentially the mascot of this channel. And I also believe he will be a potential hero backup stick unit or small pack unit just because compared to the other LSSRs that are released close to him, he's not as desirable, unfortunately. And he's one of the LSSRs with the most utility. He provides 2 extra energy for your team. He has an energy seal, a max HP boost to himself and his ally. He has unyielding twice per battle. He's essentially a unit you'd like to have, but he's not necessary for you to progress through the game. Because of this, sad to say, as much as it pains me, free to play and small spenders, he is a skip, although if he is your favorite unit and you want to pull him, I'm not going to stop you, as I did the same thing on the Southeast Asia version of the game. For dolphins and mid spenders, he's a great pull. Like I said, he provides a lot of utility, so he's definitely worth pulling for, and he will be a great addition to your lineup. As for whales and heavy spenders, he is a must pull. He is very strong with Genos. In fact, I'd say they are a pair, just like Zombie Man and Garo. If you skip him, I will ban you from my channel. Just kidding, just kidding. But yeah, if you're a whale, please pull him. He is very, very strong, and he's a great addition to your team. And now it's time to talk about another fan favorite, Awakened Tatsumaki. And she is an absolutely busted character, and a must-pull unit because of her uses in both PvP and PvE. Unfortunately for global players, I don't think we're going to have enough Shuriken tickets for her keepsake, just because we lack the Shuriken pack, because Moonton's stupid. She definitely requires her keepsake in order for her to be considered a main DPS. Without her keepsake, she's actually not that strong, although you can still use her as a sub DPS, and she will be able to carry you through some PvE content that will require some of her abilities. She is very weak during the Giro meta for PvP, just because she is unable to survive an ultimate from Genos during that meta. However, by the time Bomb meta arrives, she'll be very strong just because Bomb Core completely counters Genos, and she'll actually be able to survive his ultimate, and that is the time when she starts to shine. For free-to-play and small spenders, she is a must-pull. If you don't have enough tickets during her initial banner, very similar to Mosquito Girl, she is worth pulling on her rerun banner. As for the dolphins and mid-spenders, she is also a must-pull. And of course for whales, you guys probably already have enough black tickets to pull for her anyways, so a must-pull. Next, we talk about SSR My Mask. He is going to be the very first speed booster introduced in the game, so essentially he speeds up his allies and his main use is for PvP. For free to play, I say that there is really no need for speed unless you are trying to be very competitive in PvP. Even if you're trying to be competitive in PvP, you're never going to be able to outspeed the whales and all the other spenders if you're free to play or a small spender. Therefore, I'd say for free to play and small spenders, he's a good pull, but you can skip him if PvP is not your priority. For the dolphins and mid spenders, he's a great pull, or a must pull essentially if you're competitive in PvP. If your focus is not so much on PvP, he's also skippable, but like I said, he is a great pull, great addition to your team. Overall, the better version of Silver Fang, with the additional speed boost bonus. And of course for whales and heavy spenders, he's a must pull, otherwise good luck getting outsped by everyone who has an SSR on my mask. Okay, next we get into Drive Knight. He's essentially a jack of all trades. He can tank a little bit, he can deal a little bit of damage, he has some utility involved as well. And he's a very niche character and frankly, in my opinion, pretty hard to use. Although he is still probably the best high-tech LSSR for bomb meta. Although, if you guys already built up a Genos during the Giro era, you can use him instead of pulling for Drive Knight. And because of this, I believe he might be a potential hero backup stick unit. On the Southeast Asia version of the game, he was put on the hero backup stick, or they might put him into a small pack like G4. For free-to-play and small spenders, however, if his banner does come out, skip him. Dolphins, he's a good pull, like I said. He's a jack of all trades, he does everything, but he's not the best at everything, so he just kind of fits in between and doesn't really have a good place. He's probably skippable, honestly, in my opinion. And for whales and heavy spenders, of course, he is a great pull. Like I said before, he is the best high-tech slot for Bomb Core, so definitely a pretty good option for your team. Next, we get into Bomb, or Bang Poo as he's referred to on the Southeast Asia version of the game. Not much to say about him, he's a core unit, he's a must-pull for everyone. Free to play and small spenders, if you don't have enough black tickets, please wait for his rerun and don't gamble away your black tickets. Alright, next we talk about Sharou. I think I butchered his name, but whatever, you guys know who he is. He's a back row hitter, and is used to snipe damage dealers or main carries like Red Mosquito Girl and Awakened Tatsumaki. He's essentially like a My Mask, except he hits the entire back row instead of just one unit. He was also introduced on the hero backup stick for Southeast Asia, so that leads me to believe they might do the same thing on Global, or he might be a small pack unit. However, if they somehow decide to run his banner for free-to-play and small spenders, definitely skip. For Dolphins or mid-spenders, you can skip, although he is a good pull if you do get him. He does counter a lot of the main damage dealers during the bomb meta, and he can actually deal a lot of damage to them, slash debuff them with his weaken ability on his ultimate. As for whales and heavy spenders, like I said, he's a great pull. He will definitely be a great addition to your lineup. However, there is the issue of he is a grappler, and you guys probably already have a lot of those built up at this point. Next, we have Sonic version 2. He's essentially the same as SSR MI, he's a speed booster, except he gives more speed and he's more focused on damage rather than supporting his allies. And he essentially becomes the best in slot duelist up until the SSR Plus meta. For free to play and small spenders, he's a great pull, but like I stated before, when it comes to speed, you're never going to beat the spenders or whales in this game, so don't expect to just pull Sonic version 2 and reach the top 10 rankings just because you have him. He's great to have because at some point in the game you will want a speed booster for at least one of your teams, and Sonic version 2 is probably one of the better ones. However, if you don't have the black tickets on his banner, it's perfectly fine to skip him. For the Dolphins and mid spenders, he's a must pull unless you don't care about PvP, and of course for the whales, he is a must pull. Awakened Vaccine Man, who is essentially just the stronger version of both Vaccine Man and Chose. He provides more damage on his passive, and I think he also has Unyielding ×2. Don't quote me on that, I'll have to double check it later. And he pairs extremely well with Awakened Tatsumaki because of this. For free to play and small spenders, he's a skip. He's not necessary. You can actually just use regular Vaccine Man or the SSR version of Vaccine Man, or Chose if you manage to pull him by this point. For the Dolphins and mid spenders, he's a good pull. Definitely will make your team a lot stronger, especially paired with Awakened Tatsumaki. And for the whales, I say he's a must pull. He provides a lot of extra damage to your team, as well as just additional benefits for Awakened Tatsumaki. Alright, now we talk about Gale Wind, who is actually one of my least favorite units. However, he is absolutely cracked. I decided to skip him on the Southeast Asia version of the game. However, I soon come to regret it just because of how much he provides to the table. He's insane for PvP. He has a cross-shaped stun, and for PvE, he has internal injury follow-up, just like Garo, except he does it up to 4 times per battle, and it's not RNG based. To sum things up, he's essentially just a overloaded monster version of the current Garo we have. It's absolutely crazy. And he's still being used in PvP and PvE, even during the SSR Plus era. And because of everything I just stated, free to play and small spenders, he's a must pull. Dolphins must pull, whales must pull. And he's another one of those units that are worth pulling on his rerun banner. So if you don't have enough black tickets for his initial banner, definitely worth pulling for on his rerun. Hellfire Flame. I predict he's going to be a potential hero backup stick unit or a small pack unit just because he was introduced on the hero backup stick in the Southeast Asia version of the game. And his main purpose is to just make Bomb's shield on his core stronger than it already is. Overall, I believe he's an underwhelming unit, at least compared to Sonic version 2. If you had to choose between the two for the duelist slot, Sonic version 2 is definitely the better LSSR. And because of this, I definitely don't recommend free-to-play and small spenders to pull for him. Skip him. For Dolphins and mid-spenders, I'd say skip as well, although if you can pull him and want to pull him, you can go for it. I just personally think Sonic version 2 is a better decision. As for whales and heavy spenders, he's a great pull. He does make the shield a lot stronger during bomb meta, so if you want to try and play a little bit of a more defensive lineup, he's definitely worth the investment. Okay guys, well that's going to be it for this One Punch Man video. I like to state once again that everything I've stated in this video are merely just suggestions, and you should play and pick who to summon for based on your own judgment and your preferences. But other than that, I'll see you guys in the next One Punch Man video. Peace!